Yo, what's up, guys? It's the MMA Analyst here to talk about what needs to be talked about. And we already know what that is. It is, how did the MMA Analyst know? How was he so sure about this guy called Jon Jones, about this UFC fighter named Jon Jones? How could he have possibly known all along, well, at least before most people, that this guy is just, whatever word you want to call him, as long as it's, not too derogatory. I mean, I can't argue with you. The dude is a clown. He's an amazing fighter, but at the end of the day, he's a clown. So let's talk a little bit about, how I was right. You'll never hear me do an I told you so video, ever, if it's about a fight. I think one guy's going to win, the other guy win. You don't hear me come on here and ignore it. So when I'm right, I'm not going to do an I told you so video. But when it comes to just, there was a time when I was like the only person who was like, Jon Jones is not the dude that everybody keeps saying he is. He's a real nice guy. He only, all that stuff. Now, again, it doesn't matter. He's a fighter. At the end of the day, he's a fighter. So whether he's a nice guy, whether he's selfish, whether he's arrogant, whether he is pretending for everybody, that all really doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not he can win fights. But I was just, the way his attitude was, I have a problem with people who pretend to be what they're not. Nick Diaz comes out there. He doesn't try and sugarcoat anything. I don't like the media. I don't like you. I am the way I am. I do what I do. Like it or don't, I don't care. And that's an attitude I can respect. Floyd Mayweather, y'all doubted me forever. I'm still undefeated. It's been 17 years. I've never lost a fight. I'm crazy. I got more money than all you bastards. And y'all still hating on me. You want to see me in jail. You want to see me fail. But I keep winning. Even when I'm losing, I'm winning. Team Mayweather. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I can understand that. You're not being fake. Jon Jones this whole time been like, I'm really humble. I'm a nice guy. I have others' interests at my best. At my heart, in the core. I'm just a really friendly, loving character. I'm for the children. Jon Jones is for the people. I'm like, no, dog, that's not you. And I realized this ever since a few weeks before his fight with Shogun, when he started to do that little turn, when all of a sudden his head got bigger than it needed to be. Ever since then, he's done a lot of dumb stuff. He bought a Bentley. I don't know if he can afford a Bentley. I guess he can. I know he's got family. They all got money. He's got money now. But he went out there, bought a Bentley. Okay, cool, you bought a Bentley. Lots of people buy stuff maybe they can't afford at that time, but they think they can afford it as long as their situation doesn't change. Then he crashes it drunk. Okay, well, a lot of people make mistakes. Sometimes it's breaking the law. Sometimes it puts other people's life in jeopardy, but all right, sure. But at the end of the day, now we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. Not to say this is worse. This is just something that cannot be ignored. Now, I waited a day or two just to make sure. I didn't want to come on here and blast the guy not knowing kind of the facts. Even now, I only know kind of what I've been told by the media. And in MMA, the media is probably the worst media minus a few people in all of media. But anyways, just to get it out of the way, according to Greg Jackson, Jon Jones was not aware that his lack of participation in the main event on a card that was not strong would actually cause the entire card to crumble. Is that true? I don't know. It's Jon Jones versus Dan Henderson. Again, it's not like the next fight was, a suitable co-main event, or it's like main events don't fall through. So he says, just in his defense, or in Greg Jackson's defense, they did not know that this would be the ramifications and repercussions of their decision. Okay, cool. So we got that out of the way. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. Could you imagine? And sorry. Let me continue, because it's just a rant. It's just a rant. Does Jon Jones owe it to the UFC to take a fight on 8 days' notice against Chael Sonnen or anybody? And it's not even taking a fight. It's just switching opponents. To be honest, no, he doesn't owe anybody anything. It's his career. It's decisions that supposedly he's making, or his coach is making. But at the end of the day, he's a grown man. He pays that coach. He wasn't going from training for Anderson Silva to we're going to put you up against a world-class wrestler. He was going from Dan Henderson to Chael Sonnen. The only reason why Chael Sonnen's a more difficult fight is because Dan Henderson will entertain the thought of standing with Jon Jones. And he will not just rush in like Vladimir Putin. Sorry. He won't just rush in like Chael Sonnen. Dan Henderson will stay on the outside and like try and land that overhand right. And not Chael Sonnen. That's Dan Henderson. Chael Sonnen is going to run in, try and take him down. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and Chael Sonnen gets raped. If it does work, well, let's take a look at the situation here. Jon Jones walks around, 230, 240? 230 minimum. Cuts down to 205. By the time he puts the weight back on, fights at around 215, 220. Chael Sonnen walks around maybe 210, cuts down to 185, puts the weight back on, fights at maybe 195, 200. So he would be taking a fight with a guy that is naturally smaller, and on the night of the fight would be fighting at walking weight. Also, Chael Sonnen wasn't training, so he would be literally fighting a guy who is just sleeping or doing whatever Chael Sonnen does for his spare time. 8 days. And Greg Jackson says, yo, it'll be the biggest mistake of your entire life if you take this fight. Really? So that means basically you think your guy's going to lose because winning is not the biggest mistake of his entire life. If Greg Jackson believed that Jon Jones was going to win this fight, it wouldn't be the most horrible thing he'd do in his entire life in his career. I mean, he'd make another $500,000. Excuse me. He'd have another great showing, beat somebody else up, add to his legacy. Like that, I don't see any negative points in any of that. So if it's the worst decision you'll ever make in your entire career, then that means you're going to lose, which would be not like it's a decision, but in this situation, it's a decision that can be avoided, or it's an outcome that can be avoided by a decision. So, obviously, there's no question about whether or not they thought somebody was ducking. Yeah, he was ducking, and his manager or coach, trainer, whatever, Greg Jackson, was very obvious with that. If you fight this guy, you're going to lose because that's the only bad decision. How can it be a bad decision? You go in there and knock a guy out. Ooh, terrible decision. Man, look at this, $500,000. I'm going to get 10% of that. Ooh, man, it's tough. That's not a bad decision. That's great. Jon Jones was talking about it's business. It's all about business. Okay, well, business is about making money. Now, maybe he's thinking business long term. Maybe he thinks his stock will drop if he loses. So he takes a short-term gain, which is $400,000 to show up and win. And then maybe he has the long-term fail of he thinks now he's not the champion anymore. His stock is dropped. I don't know. Like, that's the only way it could be bad business. So, clearly these guys are ducking Chael Sonnen. Just a note, obviously, I'm rooting for Chael Sonnen. At one point, I wasn't sure what I would do when Chael Sonnen ever fought Jon Jones, but, I mean, obviously, I'm rooting for Chael Sonnen. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. Chael Sonnen is my favorite fighter in that fight. In the whole world. No other fighter even exists. Stop this clown from being able to just continue to do what he's doing. All right, what else? Machida didn't take the fight. People are like, well, look, Machida didn't take the fight. People, please. Is there anything up there? Lyoto Machida already lost to Jon Jones. He's going to get another shot sooner or later to fight Jon Jones. If he loses to Jon Jones that second time, you know when he's going to get his third shot? Right around the same time Rich Franklin gets his third shot against Anderson Silva, which is AKA never. So Machida has to be 120% ready for that fight. Do you think on 30 days notice Lyoto Machida can get into that shape? No. So he cannot take that fight. If he takes that fight, he loses. Then he never gets a title shot at light heavyweight as long as Jones is the champion ever again. So, no, of course he can't take that fight. When I first heard he was taking that fight, I was like, Machida, you're dumb. You can't do that. So, I'm glad he didn't. He shouldn't, and it is what it is. What else? Vitor Belfort? We won't even get to that yet, because that's just ridiculous. So, back to Jon Jones. What have I not talked about yet? He ducked, for sure. He's talking all... Oh, what happens if other people have this mindset? This mindset of, I can't take this fight. I'm not saying you should fight anytime Dana White calls you up. But what I am saying is, if you're the pound for pound number 2 or number 3, if you're going to be the heavy favorite against anybody you fight other than Anderson Silva, then what are you worried about? It's not like they said, John, listen, man, I can't believe this. Quentin Rampage Jackson got injured. He was supposed to fight Lyoto Machida. They've been training for 2 months. And we're not going to have a main event. We need you to get off the couch, start cutting weight, and defend your title. They're not saying that. Of course, no. Nobody would be angry with that. They said, Jon Jones, you've been training for a wrestler. Your opponent is hurt. We're going to substitute another wrestler who is lighter than that guy, who is not in as good a shape as that guy. And we need you to take a new opponent on 8 days' notice, but that opponent is almost exactly like your other opponent. And he said no. Then they said, nope, not going to happen. So now what happens? Obviously, let's talk about all the other fighters on the card. Jon Jones doesn't need the money, I guess, right? He doesn't need the, $400,000. So what do I need that for? I'm going to just wait a little bit. Well, these other guys don't get the same privilege. They don't get the same security. They can't just be like these guys, people don't understand. If you want to know how much fighters make, look at all the fighters on that card and see their reaction. Because if everybody was making Jon Jones money, then nobody would have money problems right now. You've got people who are saying, now some of them are making jokes, but some of them are like, I got to send my kid to school in September and, bills are coming. These fighters are living check to check. That is a different video, but they're living check to check. They're living fight to fight. They have to fight. They're spending money on trainers, on this, on that. They're taking their time. They're ready to fight. And now they can't fight and they can't get paid. Right? So let's pretend a fighter fights 4 times a year. He's lucky if he does. Fights 4 times a year and he has a certain amount that he's going to get paid. Let's say it's $15,000 a fight. So you go $15,000 a fight times 4 times a year. Now, hopefully he can win all 4 times a year. But if not, you just look at the money here. The numbers aren't great. Then you take 20% to a manager, 10% to a manager, however many percent to your trainers, however many you need for just living. At the end of the day, I'm making more than most of these UFC fighters at the lower level. So, and my life's not on the line. My health is not on the line like these dudes. So these guys are like, I got bills. I got rent. I got stuff I got to do. Now, I don't think anybody's going to be on the street because they didn't get this fight. But at the end of the day, Jon Jones doesn't care about any of that. Now, he says he didn't know. But when the main event is gone, then that is what it is. What else? So you've got all those guys who did that. Then you have all the fans. I'm coming from Kyle Noak, I think was on the card or whatever. People are going to be coming over from Australia. People from all over the world flying in. Sorry, buddy. You might as well just turn that into a vacation. You're going to be in the United States. So, get over here. Do your thing. Enjoy it. But you're not going to be here for any good reason. You're going to be here just checking out Vegas. Go gamble. Spend some more money. Obviously, the UFC, they're going to lose money on this. Not like they're hurting. They're the ones I feel absolutely zero compassion for. They're fine. But at the end of the day, everybody is screwed except Jon Jones and Vitor Belfort. He definitely is somewhere in the background, not crying for Argentina. But at the end of the day, these are the actions of just a complete self-centered, self-focused. And again, I don't care if you're self-centered or self-focused. I'm not telling everybody to become Mother Teresa. I'm just saying, be who you are. You know, be who you are. And for Jon Jones, well, that's where he is now. He's actually at the point where all that little happy-go-lucky Jon Jones, yay, you know, I'm a company man, I'm all that stuff. You know, that's all out the window. And again, I don't care. I've never been a fan of company men, especially in a situation where you guys need to be your own person. When I think that fighters are getting 95% of fighters are getting raped for the amount of money they make. If they're making good money, they should be making better. If they're making bad money, they should be making at least livable money. If they're in the middle, they should be making a little more from the amount of money being made in MMA. So I'm not saying I want everybody to become Matt Hughes and Chuck Liddell. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that what Jon Jones in this situation is doing, ruining an entire card, hundreds of lives affected by it, and for not a good reason. Again, not a good reason. He was going to be the favorite. They say Chael Sonnen is literally jumping off of training for Ultimate, Undisputed 2012, the video game, to 8 days preparation for Jon Jones. What is that kind of odds going to be for Chael Sonnen? My homeboy's going to be a 6-1 underdog. Vitor Belfort is at 18-1 a 13-1 underdog. I mean, wait, no. Jon Jones is a 13-1 favorite. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. What can I say? I've rambled long enough. It's 17 minutes video. Some of it at the beginning is going to get cut off. Jon Jones, thank you. Thank you, Jon. Thank you. Because when I was telling everybody you're a good fighter, but as a dude, you're not who you say you are, and everybody was saying, yo, man, you're just a hater, why you hating on Jon Jones, focus on his fights, do all this. I'm not betting against the guy. I'm saying I don't like the dude. But anyways, thank you. Because now, in the last few months, you're making me look like Negro Damas, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Thank you, Jon. Now, do me a favor, go out there and lose to, get caught somehow by Vitor Belfort. Somehow let that happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Vitor Belfort is going to do a similar fight as he did against Anderson Silva, which is go out there and stand around until he eventually loses. But hey, it is what it is. So there you go. That's my UFC 151 video. I do apologize for being a little, in general, the last couple things, vacation, all that other stuff, whatever, you know what I mean? It is what it is. But yeah, I'm back, and there's my video. A nice long rant about Jon Jones, pound for pound, number 3 fighter in the world and in MMA, and public enemy number 1, and it's no news to me. MMA, it's important. Peace.